is Max Access, where Mackenzie Barwell takes you closer to members of Forge FC off the pitch on the Forge Audio Network.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Max Access. I'm your host, Mackenzie Barwell, coming to you on March 14th, 2024. I'm excited about today's episode because I am joined by Forge FC defender and midfielder, you guessed it, Alex Achinioti-Jönsson. He and I talked about everything he got up to in the off-season, his signing announcement video that was posted on the Forge FC social media, and of course how he's feeling going into his 6th season with the team. Alex is truly so great to talk to, so I have to thank him for taking the time and sharing his insight. But before we get into that interview, I've got 2 recent updates to break down. Forge FC recently announced the signing of left back Daniel Parra. He comes on loan from Liga MX side CF Monterrey. Now, for those of you who may be unfamiliar, that essentially means he will return to the club after this season with Forge. But the 24-year-old comes into the CPL with plenty of high-level experience, playing with CF Monterrey since 2016. So looking at his time with the Mexican club, he's made 38 appearances with their senior team, 72 with their youth setup, and then in his first season with that first team, that was in the 2019-2020 season, he went on to win a Liga MX title, CONCACAF Champions Cup, and Copa MX title, all within the same season. So definitely somebody you'll want to keep an eye out for come April 13th. In other news, the kickoff date and time has been announced for Forge FC's 2024 Canadian Championship preliminary round. They will take on York United May 1st, 7 p.m. at Tim Hortons Field. So mark it in your calendars because, again, the winner of that match will go on to face CF Montreal in the quarterfinal. You can visit your ticket representative or the Forge FC website to secure your seats. Other than that, they'll also play some exhibition games in the coming weeks, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a couple more signings. So stay tuned. But for now, let's get into my interview with Alex Achinioti-Jönsson. Alex, thank you so much for hopping back on the audio network.
Thank you for having me. It's truly a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a while, eh?
Yeah, no, it's a while ago.
You tried to hide.
Yeah, it was. I think it was inevitable. So
it had to happen eventually.
Yeah.
You had practice this morning. How was that, and how are things more generally?
It's been good. I think we're getting started up again. I don't want to say same old, but like we've had 2 weeks off, 2-3 weeks off after CONCACAF, so now it's just getting back into rhythm and like getting. I think fitness overall is good, so it's just more getting used to the touches again and going through a bit of a tougher period in the beginning of preseason. But it's been good.
Yeah, no, I completely see what you're saying. Obviously, now you and the team are back at training at Tim Hortons Field, but we know that process kind of started a while ago, back in Mexico too, like in preparation for those CONCACAF matches. So what are your thoughts on how, or do you appreciate a quick off season? How do you adjust with that turnaround time?
Well, honestly, in Sweden, I got 1 month off season a year, every year, usually league and October, and you'd get either November off or December off, and then you'd be back in. So it was 11 out of 12 months you'd play and be in practice. So,
okay, so
I can't really complain about. No, this is not having as much time as I had before CONCACAF, and then now after CONCACAF is almost equivalent to all the time I had off during the 5 years I played in Sweden.
No way. Okay, I thought you were. Wow, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, no. So
that little stint, this like past month, is essentially the entire off season.
Yeah, usually I think in general in Europe you get a month. Sweden goes the same way as Canada and the US does with the spring to fall season. But I think so. We usually get a month off during winter, but I think the rest of the leagues in Europe do fall to spring, get a month off in June or July, and then they start in August, and then the league starts. So yeah.
Okay, there you go. Were you able to go home at all and visit family during that November period?
No, I actually didn't go home because there was uncertainties about where I was going to play next year, and I have half my life here, so I didn't want to fly back and forth and bring all my stuff back and forth. So
yeah,
I actually didn't go and visit, and then this short period in between the CONCACAF and the preseason starting up again, I had some other stuff that I had to get done, and then my
Right.
mom
Okay.
actually came and visited instead. So I get to see some family now, but I haven't been home in a while.
But they come to you, which is nice. So at least your mom.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. Okay, well, going back to what you said earlier, obviously at that time you weren't sure where you're going to play, and then shortly later, from a public perspective, we see your signing announcement video go out. And that is something that I really wanted to talk about because that was so well executed, Alex. It was so nonchalant and so just so you. So whose idea was that, and who was involved in the execution?
Yeah, so we it was Nico who wrote to me while we were in Mexico about how it's gonna be done, and he communicated through Liam, like our physio or athletic therapist. I think he'll be mad if I call him a physio, but
Yeah,
our
you
athletic
will.
therapist.
Yeah,
And
you will.
he just told me, yeah, basically what you're gonna do is like you're gonna film a video and say, like, I'm back, and I was like, that sounds like the worst reveal video ever. And so I wrote to Nico. I was like, "Is this really how we're gonna do it? Like, are we gonna do it?" And he's like, "Oh, Liam's losing a bit in translation there. Like, and he showed me the tweet that that was written, and he's like, "This is what we want to do. So we actually want to make it cool." And I was like, "Okay, can we make a change instead of me saying I'm back or something, like turning the camera around from filming training? I just walk in and join instead." And then Liam came back into the picture, and he was the cameraman. And I think we did like 4 or 5 takes, and it just wasn't it. And then Jelani was standing and looking at us while we're doing it, and I just said, "Jelani, can you do this instead?" Like Liam's a great athletic therapist, but he's not much of a cameraman or a director. So the first take that Jelani and I did was the one that was posted, and that was for sure the best one.
Wow! After 5 tries, Liam still couldn't get it going.
Yeah, no, Liam wasn't giving me any pointers or anything. I couldn't see what's going on in what he caught on the camera or anything, right? So it's like, yeah, it was
okay. Well, I gotta give Jelani the credit there because it was well done. And to your point, like I do think it would have made way more sense for you to do that than like a selfie style. What's up, guys? Can't like it's just not you, you know?
Yeah,
like,
no, that's what I was saying as well. I'm very uncomfortable with that stuff, so I'm happy that they didn't force me to do that.
Okay, well, now you are going into your 6th season with Forge. It's very exciting. You're one of the players leading in appearances. So first and foremost, congratulations, because I think the entire community and fan base is very relieved and happy to see that you're coming back.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Can I ask a little bit about what exactly went into your thought process and why you decided to commit to another multi-year contract after having been with the team for as long as you have?
Yeah, it went back to last year. Even after the season, I had to talk with coach and the club where I said that I'm looking at other options, but I'm also still very interested in staying at Forge. But I also want to explore and see what else I can find. And then as time went on, we just kept in communication, kept talking a bit back and forth. And at some points, it seemed like it's going to be Forge, and then at some points, it seemed like it was going to be something else. And no, then when it all like came down to in January, there I talked early on in the beginning of the talks. I'd said, well, I've built a legacy here as well, and like we've built the ground and like everything, and it's obviously something you don't get to be a part of that often in your life, like being like the first brick basically when it's been planted. So just having to be able to continue to build on that, and yeah, that was something that obviously drew me in as well. I've never been very money motivated. Of course, it's nice to feel like you're well off and all that kind of stuff, but it's never been my primary motive with soccer. Like I know some players motivate us, and I'm completely fine with that, but it's never what motivated me. I want to experience stuff and feel like I've done something, and I feel like I've accomplished a lot here, and like when I leave, hopefully I'll be remembered, and it's not easy to do as a player. Right? Like you don't get the opportunity to actually mean a lot to a club, like no matter where you go. So that also motivated me a bit. And then just obviously the other factors are also that I like living here. Like I have a good life here and everything, and sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other
Yeah.
side. So there's a lot going into it, and that's also why I kind of went back and forth, like what would be the right decision. But ultimately, I'm very happy with where I am right now and with the contract. So
Yeah, you talk about building a legacy, and it is so true. You've been such an integral part of this team for the past 5 years, not only 3, but 4 championships now. So I wanted to get your perspective on how you've seen the club evolve and grow since 2019 and what you think that success is attributed to.
it's hard to just pin it down to one or two things. I think we've grown as a team a lot every year, both on and off the field, and become more professional. And obviously, when you start a new league and a new team, it's you can't have everything at once. So I think progressively we've taken steps every year. Even coming into this year, we have more stuff on off the field. On the field, there's obviously been, I think, league wide, it's been brought in more quality, and the league's higher quality now than it was when it started, obviously. And I think our improvement is easy to see, like in a game like when we played against Chivas. You can see we can bring out very high quality, and yeah, no, I think it's just every year been moving in the right direction with all of the quality on the field and quality off the field, and you can see the growth and interest and everything as well. I think every team increased their attendance last year, right? And like by quite some teams did it by quite a lot, and no, I think it's great for the sport in this country, especially going into the World Cup 2026. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's been fun to be a part of, and still fun to be a part of. So yeah.
Yeah. I think quality is one of those things where inevitably you've seen this club increase, but with regards to the culture and the core principles, that's something that's remained consistent. With the inevitable transition of different players, obviously this year, losing some core guys like Manny, Abu, Rama, from your experience in seeing that natural progression of different personnel, how do you observe Forge, navigating the integration of new players, but also the departure of older established players in the context of maintaining cohesiveness in the culture and those core principles that I mentioned?
Yeah, I think. Well, to start with, we've got like a big group of core guys left, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's been there since year one with me, Borges, Bex, David, and Dom, and maybe a couple of other guys I just
Yeah.
can't think of the
Yeah.
top of my head. So I think that's also integral to kind of keeping the same culture and the same goals within the group, because it's like us a bit older and more experienced to kind of try to integrate the new players and kind of get them to understand what it's about, whether they have a lot of experience before or if they don't have. And you see people adjusting to it quicker, and the ones that have a bit more experience take on a bigger role in the team, and the younger guys kind of learn. And then you can see some of them step on taking a bigger part of the team after 1-2 years, and like knows what it's about, and then kind of helps other people get into teams. I think it all starts from like having, well, yeah, like Bex has been amazing from year one and a great leader. So I think it starts from him as well, like, and then just kind of fans out.
Right.
Yeah.
And not only Bex too, do you feel like there is sort of this heightened responsibilities in some way that the older veteran guys kind of uphold those values and principles?
Yeah, I do. I think it's important. It doesn't always have to be older. Like we all come from different places and have different experiences, but it's important when people have had different experience playing in different leagues, and some in Europe, some in MLS, and just kind of showing like what it's like, what you got to do to be at those spots, and how to get to the next spot.
I also think what's cool about Forge and the pathway from Sigma is that some of these younger guys like KJ and Zane have been training and have kind of seen how you guys operate, so that even though they are younger, like you said, they can still lead by example,
Yeah, like when they go back to Sigma, right? They've got so much experience from or wherever they go. I think getting professional experience is invaluable, and even like I feel like the reason I don't like college football or soccer or whatever like that you guys have here in North America is we don't really have that system in Sweden. Is that you don't get any real senior, like you don't play against real men basically. When you go to
Yeah.
college, you play against what tops a 22-year-old who's got what experience, some college experience playing against other 21, 22-year-olds. So you don't play against the 30-year-olds that have like the old tips and tricks. And then when you're 23, you're coming off fresh out of college, and you kind of got to learn still at that point. While as back home, I was used to when you're 22, 23, you usually played 3 years at least of like grown-up football, I guess, like senior football, and I think that's important. So them getting that experience now early on is important. If they stay on Forge, if they go somewhere else, if they go to university, they've experienced what it is playing real teams, basically.
Yeah. No, that's actually a great point, and I guess I haven't really thought about calling out our college system like that yet, but it's kind of true, to be honest. It's true.
Yeah, that's just my perspective on it.
Yeah,
And
well,
maybe it has obviously has other benefits.
yeah, you're gonna compare it to Europe, so I see what you're saying. Okay, my last thing, looking back at 2023 and that season, I think based on the conversations that I've had with not only your teammates but also Coach Bobby, it's kind of evident that maybe obviously each season is different, but I think in particular with 2023, there wasn't that consistency piece that we've seen in the past, in the sense that you weren't always at the top of the table throughout the regular season. What do you think that the team is taking away from last year, and how have you started to see changes, if any, through CONCACAF and training now?
It's tough to just put your finger on one or two things that went wrong, I guess, if you want to call it that, last year. Because I know as a team we weren't happy with our performance over the season. It's also because we hold ourselves to a higher standard than that, and we have more aspirations than what we accomplished last year. So it's tough to say, but I think we proved a bit, like in the Champions League game, that we're a better team than what we showed last year. I think those two games were better than any of the games we played last year. And I just think that shows us that we have the quality to do that, but we got to bring it out, and we actually got to, I don't know, put our heads down and fight. I feel like last year and last 2 years actually, even though we had a good 2022 season, we felt a bit entitled, which I do not like at all. We're not owed anything just because we have won as many championships as we have. We still gotta have the hunger, and that's where some of the other teams maybe caught up there. Like everyone wants to beat us, right? We won 4 out of 5 years, so nobody wants to see us lift another trophy. And sometimes I feel like we just assume that we're good enough to win, so we don't have to always put in 100% effort. And then we're standing there and we're like questioning why isn't this working? So I think we showed in the CONCACAF games, even though we were rusty, we there's a lot of stuff to improve from those games. We showed that when we actually put our heads down and work hard and combine that with our quality, we're a tough team to beat, and we can show up to any game. We just gotta bring that every game and not act like we're entitled to anything in the league.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate you sharing everything.
Yeah. Thank you. It was fun being on here.
There it is. That's all I have for today's episode. Another shout out to Alex for joining me. He really is the best and always a pleasure to chat with. Don't forget, grab your tickets for the preliminary round of the Canadian Championship happening May 1st at 7 p.m. That's your formal warning before they sell out. Thank you all so much for listening. It really is always appreciated. And I'll be back to check in on the audio network next week.
Thanks for listening to Max Access on the Forge Audio Network. If you like what you heard, please like, follow, subscribe, comment, and share.
I'm going to share this with the audio network. Yesterday, we were supposed to have our interview, but didn't end up working out timing-wise. I wrote a stats quiz. I went to my friend's house to write this quiz. I walk into their living room.
Oh, shit. Well, I can't see that. You got to go a little bit that way. Yeah. Okay, now you're overdoing it. There you go. Oh, wow, look at that. Yeah.
Isn't that kind of sweet?
Yeah, that's cool. There's a scarf up there as well, right?
They've got a banner. They've got the whole thing. So I just wanted you to know that the McMaster University students have your back.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. But did this have anything to do with the stats quiz?
Well, I was just telling you that I went to the house to write the stats quiz, and then unknowingly I saw.
Yeah, but like, that was your stats quiz, right?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said that you had made a stats quiz for me. That's why I was like, what about what stats? Yeah, this was very weird. The communication here is obviously lacking. I remember you saying that.
Listen, our next interview will be in about 4 months, so start the countdown and get excited.
I feel like you have to be very clear with the instructions.